All right, today we're continuing in this week's Torah reading, the last chapter in the book of Genesis. It's called Parshat Vayechi, and it explains the last days of Jacob, Yaakov, who's also called Yisrael. And first he blesses his son Yosef and his two grandsons that come from Yosef, Ephraim and Manasseh. Then he continues to bless all of the other 11 families, 11 children that he has, which each one of them becomes a whole family, and they become the future tribes of Israel. So now he's giving blessings. All right. First of all, he's blessing Yosef. Yosef, first of all, he's the king. Yosef is the king over there. And excuse me one moment. Yosef is the king. And also Yosef, when he was in Egypt, he had two sons. And the two sons were Ephraim and Manasseh. And those two sons are going to be treated like two of the tribes. So Yosef, instead of being counted one tribe, he's going to be counted now two tribes. So there isn't going to be one tribe of Yosef. There's going to be said two tribes. One is Manasseh and one is Ephraim. And now here's where they get the blessings. Ready? Here we go. And it was after these things that what do you mean after what things? That Yaakov made Yosef promise that he would not bury him in the land of Egypt when he died, but rather that he would bury him in Israel, in the land of Hebron, in the city of Hebron, together with Avram and Yitzchak, Avram and his wife, and Yitzchak and his wife. Okay, so he said, after that, he promised, Yosef promised, he swore, I will not bury you in Egypt, I will take you out and bury you in the land of Canaan. After these words, after these things, Vayomer Yosef, Yaakov said to Yosef, Hine avicha chola, your father is now really dying. Vayikach esnei banav. So Yosef took his two sons with him, as Manasseh and Ephraim. Rashi says, Vayomer Yosef, who told Yosef? Who was the one that told Yosef that his father was actually dying? It was somebody. We don't know who it was. One of the Magidim. Some people say it was Ephraim, one of his two sons, because he was always sitting by Yaakov and learning Torah. When Yaakov got sick in the land of Goshen, that's where he was, so Ephraim went to Egypt to tell him, because Goshen was like a separate place, right? That's where all the Jews were. And Yosef, he had to be in the central city of the capital of Egypt to tell him, right? Because Yosef was sitting separate from his family. So he took his two sons with him. Why? In order that they should bless them before they died. Here we have OrHaChaim says, maybe it reads like this, that he took them in order to get blessed for two reasons. What do you mean two reasons? Here it says, so he took his two sons with him. Yosef took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Now that's unnecessary to say. He only had two sons. It's to say he took his two sons with him. Or he took Manasseh and Ephraim. What does he have to say his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim? Isn't that redundant? And so the OrHaChaim gives a couple of answers, but here he says that there's two reasons that these two sons should get blessed. First of all, because they're his sons. And second of all, each one has his own merits. Therefore, he said he took his sons and also Manasseh and Ephraim. Both of them are holy, righteous people. That's why he said they took it with him, so that you'll understand And what's the difference between him and his sons? It says he took his two sons with him. And it could have just said he took his two sons, Menaphe and Ephraim, but he wanted to show that there's two different reasons for getting blessings. Okay. Yaakov, it was told to Yaakov, behold, your son Yosef is coming to you. And Yisrael got stronger. Yisrael is Yaakov. And he sat up in his bed. He strengthened himself and he sat in his bed. Here he says, who told Yaakov? But it doesn't say who it was. Someone told Yaakov. It doesn't say. There's a lot of sentences like this that are, Yisrael strengthened himself, even though that he's my son, but he's still as a king. Therefore, I'm going to give him honor. From here we see that you have to give honor to the king. And also we see that Moshe, when he went to Paro, says, Yerdu Alecha Ele. He said he gave honor to Paro. And also Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu. And it says, Vai Yishnas Masnav. He was bound up his loins when he was going before the king. Here's a little bit different opinion. Dad Zakanim says that why did his father have to sit up? But he was very sick. Why did he have to sit up? Rashi said he sat up in order to give, in front of a king, you have to give honor. He can't be lying down. Here he says, no, he didn't want to bless him lying down, that maybe people say it was a matna shchiv mera. I'll explain what that is in a minute. Maybe he'll say that he was like in his death throes. He was dying, and because he was dying, that's called the shchiv mera. And he was about to die, and because he was about to die, he was going crazy. He lost his mind. So therefore, they would say that maybe his mind was not clear, and that's why he gave him this blessing. So he wanted to sit up so that there wouldn't be any doubt that the blessings that he gave were real blessings. Okay, Yaakov said to Yosef, El Shaddai nira alai baluz be'eretz Canaan v'yavorach. God, now God has a lot of different names, and here God's name is El Shaddai. Shaddai usually means that God has the power to give to everyone the blessings that they deserve. So he appeared to be baluz in the land of Canaan, and he blessed me. We're going to have a lot of names of places here that are not so clear, but anyway, that God blessed me. What did he bless me? God blessed me, and he said, this is Yaakov speaking to Yosef. He blessed me, and he said, behold, I will make you fruitful, and I will make you many, and I will make you into a group of nations, and I will give this land to you and your children forever. Now, what does it mean? I will make you into a land, a kahal, like a group, congregation of nations. So Rashi explains that Yaakov is telling Yosef that God told me that there's going to come to me another congregation and people from me. Now, Yaakov already had all of his 12 sons. He already told. What does it mean there's going to come another nation, another congregation? Even though that he already told me that it's goy v'kahal goyim, is goy, he said about Benjamin. And kahal goyim, that means two more. Namely, that are two more except for Benjamin. And I didn't have any more children after Benjamin, and I only had 12 sons. So we found this from, therefore, that your tribe of Yosef is going to divide into two. And so that's what it means. It's going to be a group of nations are going to come from you. That namely, that Yosef is going to be divided up into two. Here's another interesting one. Yosef is going to be called Kahal Amim. He's going to be called a group or a congregation. Why is Yosef going to be called a congregation? Here's an interesting one. Yosef, all the other tribes were also congregations. There were 12 tribes. Yosef was just one of them. Why was he called? So Rashi said because he was divided into two. But here he says an interesting idea. This word kahal means a lot of people gathered together. Now, there's a principle in Judaism that when there's a lot of people gathered together, that jealousy, a jealous eye, that's called ayin hara, an evil eye, means jealousy can rule over them. There's only one tribe that being gathered together does not, they don't have to worry about a jealous eye, that someone looking at them with jealousy. Because it says that a jealous eye can be damaging. If someone looks at someone else and damages the whole Gemara and Baba Batra about Nezek Ayin, as that eye looking at somebody with a jealous way can actually damage them. It's a terrible trait, but it's true. From this also you learn looking at someone with a good way, a positive way, can benefit them even more, because a good measure is more powerful than a bad measure. A little bit of dark pushes away a lot of darkness. A little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. The only tribe that is not worried about an evil eye, about a jealous, someone cursing them with a jealous look, is Yosef. Why? Because it says, we learn from the sentence that Ben Parat Yosef, Ben Parat Ale Ayin. It says, Ole Ayin, he is above the eye, he is above any sort of negative eye that can rule over him. Okay, so now Yosef, Yaakov is speaking to Yosef, right? Your children, 2 sons that are born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to in Egypt, they now are part of mine. They belong to me. They're like they're going to be 2 sons of mine. Ephraim and Manasseh are like Reuven and Shimon. What does that mean? Here he says, Ephraim and Manasseh, the Bal HaTurim. That's the gematria. That's the numerical value. If you take all the letters and add them up, Aleph is 1, Pei is 80, Resh is 200, etc. Then it comes to the same exact numerical value as the words Reuven and Shimon. In other words, Ephraim and Manasseh are now going to be called 2 of the tribes, as though they were born to Yaakov himself. But any children that you give birth to afterwards, they're just going to be parts of Ephraim and Manasseh. They're not going to be new tribes. Al Shem Achehem, because in the names of their brothers, they will be called in their inheritance. What's going to happen over here? When the Jews go into the land of Israel, they're going to divide the land up into 12 areas, and each tribe gets its own area. Each tribe gets its own area, and it's forbidden to sell part of your area, right? Let's say someone in Benjamin can't sell a plot of land to someone that's in Reuven or something like that, because everybody gets their own area. That's what it was. The areas were also divided up according to the size. So they were supposed to be divided up into 12 equal parts. The parts of it. There was also a certain portion which was before they crossed over the Jordan River. There was also Manasseh and Gad, and Chetzi Shevet Manasseh, and Reuven and Gad and Chetzi Shevet Manasseh, and half of the tribe of Manasseh also got their other. Okay, so and we have Manasseh and Ephraim are now taking, each one takes a portion, and Yosef doesn't get a portion. Yosef's portion is now, there's no portion that's called Yosef. It's going to be called Manasseh and Ephraim. And any children that will be born to Yosef afterwards will be included in Manasseh and Ephraim. There won't be any more divisions of the land of Israel. Sorry, I have to skip all this because there's beautiful explanations over here, but we have to make progress. Okay, now Yaakov is going to apologize in front of Yosef. And he's going to say, okay, va'ani, mi boy mi Padan, when I came from Padan Aram, that was where he was from. So they were traveling, right? Mi Padan Aram, that was where Lavan was. From Lavan, as Meta alai Rachel, Rachel died. Be'eretz Canaan, B'derech on the way, Ba'od Kivrat Eretz Livrot. It was a certain distance from this place of Ephrat. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrat. Where is this way to Ephrat? Where did I bury her? In a place called Beit Lechem. That's where she's buried today, Bethlehem, Beit Lechem. Okay, let's take a look at Rashi here. Rashi says like this. Yaakov is now saying to Yosef, you're probably mad at me because your mother, she was my favorite. I wanted to marry her. They tricked me and they gave me Leah. But nevertheless, I'm not going to be buried together with your mother. I'm buried together with Leah. And why? Because when I was on the way, as your mother died, when she gave birth to Benjamin, she died. And I didn't take her body and bury it in Hebron, like I want you to do to me. Now, Hebron is a lot closer to the place where Rachel died than it is to the place where Yaakov is dying. Yaakov is going to die in Egypt. So it's a big schlep to take Yaakov all the way from Egypt into Hebron. And nevertheless, that's what I'm demanding from you, Yosef, that you should do. Even though I myself did not do that with your mother. Even though that I'm giving you this troubling you to take me to bury me in the land of Canaan. And I did not do that to your mother because she died right next to this place called Beit Lechem. Kivrat Erech says it's a certain distance. So he says, I know that you have something in your heart on me, that you are, angry with me. But you should know, She'alpia Dibur Kavarti Hasham. Yaakov is saying to Yosef, you should know that I didn't bury her in Beit Lechem because I was lazy, and not because I didn't want to carry her, but because God told me to. Believe me, I would have loved to have buried her in Hebron, but because God told me. Why? That she would be as a help to her offspring. Nebuzaradan, when Nebuzaradan, this was one of the Nebuchadnezzar, when he conquered the land he destroyed the temple and took the Jews into exile. Over in Derech Sham, they would go by Beit Lechem. Yotzer Rachel, Rachel would come out of her grave. Uboche, and she would come and cry. Umavakeshes Talem Rachamim, and request from them mercy. Now, Rachel, you have to understand, she died like about 800 years before the destruction of the first temple. So Rachel would just be waiting there. And she would cry. Shinamar, like it says, Kol Barama Nishma, it's in Jeremiah, prophet. Kol Barama Nishma, a voice in Rama is heard. And Kodesh Baruch Hu, Meshiva, and she said, Shuvin, return back. A Kodesh Baruch Hu Meshiva, and God answers her, Yeschar lepulasech. Don't worry that you were willing to be buried separate from your husband, alone, in Beit Lechem, just to cry and to pray for the Jews when they're being taken into exile. You're going to get a reward from that. V'shavu banim legebulam, and the Jews will all come back to their boundaries. So that's why she's buried over there. Okay. In Beit Lechem. So he's saying, please don't be mad at me, even though you have a good reason to, but I'm asking you not to. Vaya Yisrael, then Yisrael saw the two sons of Yosef, and he said, who are these? Who are these? And Vaya Yisrael, he saw, Bikesh Lavorchim, wanted to bless them, but the Shekhinah went away. Because in the future, why? Because in the future, two evil people are going to come out of them. Yeravam and Achav. Yeravam is Yeravam ben Nevat, and Achav was a terrible king that was in Yeravam, of course, was Yisrael, and Achab was in Yehuda, to take from Ephraim. And there would be Yehu, and his sons would come from Manasseh. Yehu was a really good king in the beginning. He killed Jezebel and the whole evil tribe of Jezebel with Achab and all these. But then eventually his children also became sinners, idolaters. So he said, Mi'ela, who are these? Where did they come? Where did you get these terrible people that came out from them that aren't fitting for a blessing? Right? If these evil people, Yerav and Yehu and these other kings came out from them, who are they? The OrHaChaim asked a good question, and he says, what do you mean, who are they? What does that mean, who are they? Rashi sort of answers it. What do you mean, who are they? It says that 17 years, Yaakov lived in Egypt for 17 years, and the whole time he was teaching Ephraim and Manasseh. We just learned that previously. They were sitting, so what do you mean, he didn't recognize them? So what it means is that he saw, Yisrael saw them, and he said, who are they? That's what Rashi said, that they're going to come evil people. This is a drush. Says, maybe the simple meaning is like this. The Torah says that Yaakov's was almost blind. He wasn't able to see, just like his father was. He couldn't see and recognize. Therefore, he said, even though he did see two people were sitting and learning with him, but he didn't really recognize who they were. He just saw two general forms. And now when Yosef brought his sons, so he didn't recognize them. Now he saw clearly, he didn't recognize them. So now he's asking, who are they? Who are they? But that's what the Sephorah also says. He saw that they were two people, but he didn't know who they were. Yosef said to his father, these are my sons that God gave me with this. Vayomer, and Yaakov said, Kacham na'alai, bring them to me and I will bless them. I mean, he wanted to bless them first, but it says that the Shekhinah went away from him. All of a sudden, he said, bring them to me now that I'm going to bless them. First of all, Yaakov said, who are these two sons? And Yosef said, these are my two sons that God gave me bezeh, with this. With what? What did he show him? He said he showed him the deed of engagement and marriage, that he was married to his wife. His wife, of course, was the daughter of Potiphar. She, of course, converted. And Yosef asked mercy. My two sons, they're Jewish. My wife and I, we got officially, properly married. I know now you wanted to bless them before and it didn't work. I have mercy. He prayed to God, and all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit came on Yaakov and he blessed them. So now he said, Anochi irgalti Ephraim kacham al zerotai, teragalti ruchi. All of my spirit came back. Why? For the sake of Ephraim. Here you have another OrHaChaim. He said, it's the way that God, it said, these are my two sons that God gave me. Say they're my two sons. What does he have to say that God gave me? He said, because it's the way of righteous Jews, that then when they talk about anything good that they received, they always give all of the honor to God, because God is the one that gave it. Like it said, the Yeladim Asher Chanan Elokim. In other words, he didn't say, these are my two sons, right? These are the two sons that I brought up. So these are the two sons that God gave me. The eyes of Yisrael were heavy from old age, and he wasn't able to see. So Yaakov, Yaakov requested, bring the children to me. So Yosef brought them to him, and he kissed them and he hugged them. Says the Sephorah, he said he couldn't see. What do you mean he couldn't see? He couldn't see very well, because he couldn't see it well enough that he would be able to bless them, so that we should be able to see. like we said, Vayiru Hashem et Kol Haaretz, like God gave a blessing to Abraham that he saw the whole land, or to Moses that he saw the whole land of Israel, so that he would be able to bless them. Also, Elisha, it says, V'yifan acharav Yerim. So he kissed them and he hugged them. Why? Why did he kiss them and hug them? In order that his soul should cling to their soul and the blessing should actually fall on them, because he couldn't see them very well. So that it would be clear to him and to them and to God that these are the ones that he was blessing. And Yisrael said to Yosef, to see your face, I never dreamed. And here, look, now God has shown me also your offspring. I never thought it was you. Yosef brought them between Yaakov's his legs, and he bowed down to the ground. He bowed down. He said after he kissed them, so Yosef pulled them back a little bit in order that he could move one to the right and one to the left. And then he put his hands, Yosef took the hands of Yaakov and he put them on his two sons. When they went backwards, so Yosef, he said he bowed down before his father. Yosef took the two sons, Ephraim on his right hand, and he put Ephraim to the right of, Ephraim was on the right, in other words, on the left hand of Yisrael, of his father, and Manasseh was to the left side of Yosef, in other words, on the right hand of Yisrael. Yisrael was facing him, right? His father was facing him. So he put Ephraim to the left, on the left hand of Yisrael, and he put Manasseh was on the right side of Yisrael, because he wanted Manasseh to get the blessing first from the right hand is dominant. So Yisrael took his right hand, and instead of putting it on Manasseh, that was to his right, he crossed his hands over, and he put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger one, and he took his left hand that was on the hand of Ephraim, and he crossed that over also, and he put it on Manasseh. Sikeles yadav ki Manasseh bachor. He moved his hands cleverly because Manasseh was the only one. What does it mean? He moved his hands cleverly. He said, "He skil ve'ivin mishus yadav." He felt with his hands. He wasn't able to see, so he felt with his hands, right, that the one that Yosef put on his right hand wasn't fit for the first blessing. So he moved his hands like this, so that he put his right hand right on on Ephraim. On Ephraim. Now Yosef wanted that Manasseh should get the biggest blessing. But instead, Yaakov said, no, I'm going to give it to Ephraim. But Yavorach Yosef, and Yosef blessed yes. And Yosef blessed, and he said, God that I walked, my fathers walked before him, Avram Yitzhak, the God that tended to me from when I was born until this very day, the angel that redeemed me from all bad. And we see this when he talks about the angel, he's referring again to God. Here the OrHaChaim also says, everyone says, it says the angel, what does it mean? The word of God, that God commanded through. So he says that this angel that redeemed me from all bad, he should bless these sons, these boys, and they should be called on my name and the name of my fathers, Avram and Yitzchak, and they should be plenty in the land. What does it mean? They should be called on my name and on the names of my fathers. So it says that they should be called on the name, not just that all of a sudden their names will be changed. from Ephraim to Yosef and this. No, it means that everything that happened to me and my fathers and all the powers that me and my fathers and all the blessings that I and my fathers were given by God should fall on them also. First is Yaakov is called Yisrael because he defeated angels and men. So also the two boys should be righteous and they will rule over themselves and everything around them with the fear of God. Yaakov is called why? Because Ekev Rav Tov Hatzafun Tzadikim, because there's a tremendous reward stored up for the tzaddikim. Always right. That always in the beginning is difficulties, but afterwards they get tremendous success. That's Yaakov, means also trickery. Why Avram? Because Avram was called Avamon Goyim. Also, he's going to be Ephraim, and Menashe will be the head of all the nations. And Yitzchak, because Yitzchak is charti, happiness. He'll always be happy. That's what it means. The name will fall on them. Okay, Yosef saw that his father put the right hand on Ephraim. And he didn't like that. And he took his father's hand, to remove it from the head of Ephraim, to put it on the head of Menashe. Yosef said to his father, no, lo kenavi, don't do this, because this one's the first one. Put your right hand on Menashe. Don't put it on Ephraim. Don't put it on Ephraim. But his father refused. And he said, Yadati b'nei Yadati, I know. Gam hu la'am, gam hu gadol. Menashe also will be great. And he will be a great nation. Ulambat achiv hakatan, his younger brother, Ephraim, yigdal mimeno, will be greater than him. V'zaru yeh malei goyim, and his nation, his offspring, will be a rule over nations. What's he talking about? What's he going on? What's the difference? It says, I know that Menashe is the firstborn, and he will be great. Who's going to come from him? Gidon. Gidon is going to come from. Gidon is one of the judges, the shoftim. Shakodesh Baruch Hu oseh neis al yado. He's going to make a tremendous miracle for Gidon. He won this tremendous battle with Gidon and Ulam bat achiv katan yigdal mimenu. But his small brother will be greater. Who's going to be greater than Gidon? Gidon made this tremendous victory, Sisro, in this. How? Sha'atid Yoshua letzet mimenu, because Joshua is going to come from Ephraim. She'anchilat ha'oretz, that he will take over the land of Israel, and he'll teach Torah to all the Jewish people. V'zaro, it says that Moses was like the sun, and Joshua was like the moon. V'zaro yeh malei goyim, and his nation, his offspring will be like a full nation. The whole world will be filled with the name of Joshua and his reputation. When Joshua makes the sun stand still in Givon, and the Yureach Be'emach Hayalan, he makes the sun stand still in order to defeat in order to defeat his enemies when they were coming to the land of Israel. And so in order to defeat them, the sun stood still. So this is a thing that everybody knew. Not only that, even up to this day, it says that the astrologers, and this a long time ago I learned astrology. It said all of the astrological calculations, you have to take into calculations that there's one day that it was missing. One day is off. That was from the time of Joshua, and there's 1 year that's off. That's when God made all the sun and the moon stop in the days of Noah. Okay, that's what it says. Okay, so he'll be very great. And he blessed them, and he said, V'cha yubarech Yisrael le'mor, in you, in Ephraim and Menashe, the Jewish people will be blessed. Then they will say, Yasimcha Elokim ki Ephraim and Menashe, that you should be like Ephraim and Menashe. And he put Ephraim before Menashe. And Yisrael said to Yosef, behold, I am going to die, and God will be with you, and he will bring you back to the land of your forefathers. and I have given you shechem echad alechecha, one portion more on your brothers. Asher lakachti, that I took from the Emori, b'charbi u'b'kashti. Now Shechem also is from the land. Shechem is a city. So that's what he means. I have given you, because you're taking the trouble to bury me, so I'm giving you a special portion. Where? Shechem. The Shechem, it says, like the bones of Yosef took the Jewish people will take from Egypt and they buried them in Shechem. Shechem mamash, I'll give you Shechem. Now Shechem could mean like a portion, but in this case it means Shechem, the city of Shechem. This will be for you, this is your portion over your brothers. That I took with my Charbi and Mekashti. It says, when Shimon and Levi killed the people of Shechem, remember Hamor and this, and Nichnasu Kol Svivo, the whole entire nation, all the other nations wanted to make war against us. And Yaakov said, I put on my sword, I got ready for war, and therefore I took the land also with my sword and my bow and arrow. Another means Shechem Echad, this is the Bechura. Sheatilu Banu Shechem means like the shoulder, the best. That his sons, Yosef and Ephraim and Manasseh, will take two portions. And Shechem means a portion. Like it says, Harba Yishlodon. There's a lot of places where it says Shechem. Okay, he brings in this. That I took from the Yada Emori. Who was the Emori? Was Esav. That Esav is called Maisa with the Emori. It's a story. We'll learn about that later with Bilam and everything. Shahayat Tzad Aviv Emori Pi. It says that also that Esav was Emori, means the speaker. He used to talk. He used to lie to his father, and he tricked him. I took it with my Charbi and my Kashti. What did I fought against Esav with a sword and with a bow and arrow. Never happened. What is he talking about? What type of a sword and bow and arrow did he fight against Esav? He says Chachmato v'tfilato. It says Charbi means with my wisdom and with my prayer. Bakashti means a keshet, request. Request him. Here it says, if you look over here, you'll see. Oh, here's the one second. Here, B'charbi B'kashti. Here's the Aramaic translation. He says, "B'tsalusi u'bebiusi." Says B'charbi means my prayer and my requests. Here he says my sword and my bow and arrow. Okay, so in any case, whatever it is, Yaakov is saying with whether it is because of the war that Shimon and Levi fought, he is giving Yosef a portion in the land of Israel, the land of Shechem. And this belongs officially to Yosef. Interestingly enough, that's one of the places where a Jew cannot. It says also that Me'ak Sita, that Yaakov also bought it. Shechem, right after he took it from this, that he bought before they destroyed Shechem. He says that he bought the land. Yaakov bought the land. This is one of the three places that it says clearly in the Torah that we bought, and that because of the government of Israel, we can't live there. One of them is Jerusalem, which King David bought, and in the east side of Jerusalem, we can't live. Hebron is another place. There's places there where a Jew can't live, and also Shechem, where a Jew. So here we learn the blessings that Yaakov, Yisrael, gave to his son Yosef, which was divided into two, Ephraim and Manasseh. Tomorrow we're going to learn about the blessing that he gave to the other 11 sons that he had. 11 sons. Yaakov called all those sons and said, gather all together. I'm going to tell you what's going to be in the last of the days. In the end of the days, when Mashiach is going to come, what's going to be. Tune in tomorrow and hear it. Tomorrow, see everybody, God willing, at 8:15 in the morning with Mashiach now.